Doesn't matter if you're taking a peaceful walk at the Malibu beach or you're rushing to your office in New York. There's a 70% probability that you would opt for sandwich as your next meal. Most of us are die-hard sandwich fans. The word itself conjures up images of your favorite sandwiches, full of flavor, color, texture, and an incredible taste. In fact, it is thought that we spend tens of thousands of dollars in our lifetimes fueling our sandwich habit. That's a lot of money for some vegetables, cheese, and meat encased between two slices of bread. In all parts of the world, sandwiches are famous. They can be carried in lunch boxes, on picnics, to offices as meals, with other appetizers such as French fries, soup, salad, chips, pickles, and so much more. Sandwiches are common foods during trekking, hiking trips, and outings. These can also be eaten as a full meal. According to researchers, about 47% of Americans consume a sandwich or two in a single day. Welcome. You're listening to TALRadio powered by Touch a Life Foundation, and this is Foodology. I'm radio host Devansh, and on this show, I talk about the enormous world of a little word called food. The best part about sandwiches is that there are no rules. You can be as creative as you want without requiring any kitchen skills. Sandwiches make it easy to layer flavors. It's the essence of what a sandwich does after all. Some of our fondest memories of childhood include coming home from school and enjoying sandwiches of different kinds, and also taking them to school for lunch. Not just schools, this class of food is popular among adults of all age groups and professional backgrounds as well. Sandwiches are pretty great, aren't they? They possess qualities both practical and sentimental. They can be as simple or as complex as a person's desires, and they are capable of satisfying our tastes and preferences. And above all, they are so incredibly delicious. Precisely speaking, a sandwich is a food item composed of any combination of meats, vegetables, spreads, garnishes, cheese, between two slices of bread, or tucked within a roll, bun, or any leavened bread product. But don't let this definition refrain you from thinking about the endless possibilities in which sandwiches exist. Did you know that a burger counts as a sandwich? Yes, that's because the term sandwich is being redefined. Tacos fall into the sandwich category as well. Biscuit sandwiches, hot dogs, anything that can be placed between, on top of, or folded into can be classified as a sandwich. But what really is going on between those two slices of bread that has the whole world on its fingertips? Why is the world so obsessed with them? From the Vietnamese banh mi, the Indian vada pav, and the good old BLT, and even ice cream, the sheer choice of sandwich ingredients are endless. Nearly every kid in the country grew up lifting the lid of their lunchbox to find out squares or triangles of bread inside. Then there's the afternoon tea, crustless finger sandwiches filled with cucumber, ham, or smoked salmon. At dinner, the size might increase. The evening is the domain of serious sandwiches. The French dip, the burger, the meatball sub. It's never too late in the day for a sandwich though. But what makes sandwiches the preferred food of choice? The answer is simple: because of their convenience and versatility. You can buy sandwich practically anywhere and enjoy the varied number of options in a simple, easy, on-the-go way. Today's lifestyle is much different than it was 500 years ago, or even 50 years ago. Rarely do families sit around a large table at their home for meals. People have tightly packed schedules and often lengthy commutes. This makes the need for convenience foods, and sandwiches are the perfect candidate. That's because they don't require a plate or any special utensils. You can eat your sandwich in the car, in a bus, or you can easily carry them in a lunchbox. Perhaps one of the biggest reasons that people love to eat sandwiches is because they are often associated with comfort food. Comfort food can be something rich and satisfying. At the same time, it can also be nostalgic and simple. Most people grew up eating sandwiches, taking them to school, for lunch, or having them as a quick dinner on weekends. Although everyone's childhood was different, but most sandwiches are often associated with good memories of childhood. The first recorded sandwich was by the famous Rabbi Hillel the Elder, who lived during the 1st century BC. He started the Passover custom of sandwiching a mixture of chopped nuts, apples, spices, and wine between two matzos, which is a flatbread. During the Middle Ages, from around 6th to 16th century, thick blocks of coarse, stable bread called trenchers were used in place of plates. Meats and other foods were piled on top of this bread and were eaten with their fingers and sometimes with knives. The trenchers, or these thick blocks of bread, absorbed the juices, the grease, and all the sauces from the food. And at the end of the meal, one either ate the trencher or tossed the gravy-soaked bread to their dogs or gave it to the less fortunate people. These trenchers were clearly the forerunners of our open-faced sandwiches. Well, I've been talking about sandwiches for a few minutes now, but did this question ever pop up in your head that why is this food item called sandwiches? The sandwich got its name from John Montagu, the 4th Earl of Sandwich in England. It is believed that the 4th Earl of Sandwich popularized this easy-to-make snack and provided it with his name. One day in 1762, he was on a streak of 24 hours gambling and didn't want to get up for his meal. So he demanded his servant to bring him something which would not interfere with his game. The servant came up with meat between 2 slices of bread, which did not hamper John's game, and he easily ate it with one hand. A friend of John, sitting in front of him, demanded the same food by saying that he'll have the same as the sandwich. And the name popped out of that dialogue. Sandwich first appeared in American cookbooks in 1816. The sandwich was introduced to America by an Englishwoman, Elizabeth Leslie. The fillings were no longer limited to cold meat, as recipes called for a variety of things, including cheese, fruit, shellfish, nuts, and mushrooms. The years following the Civil War saw an increase in sandwich consumption, and they could be found anywhere from high-class luncheons to the taverns of the working classes. By the end of the 19th century, sandwiches earned a new name for their many different forms, like the triple-layered club sandwich and the corned beef Reuben. Whenever someone asks you, what's your favorite sandwich? It's very difficult to give a straight-up answer because there's a sandwich for every situation and taste. Throughout their existence, sandwiches have been part of some pretty incredible stories. Let's start with the American staple, PBJs, or the peanut butter jelly sandwich. The peanut butter and jelly sandwich came about in the late 19th century at elegant ladies' luncheons, where they would normally have tiny crustless sandwiches with butter and cucumber, cold cuts, or cheese. Health food advocate John Harvey Kellogg was trying to promote replacements for animal-based foods at that time. So, he recommended using a peanut paste to replace butter. So, peanut butter replaced regular butter for these parties. The first time jelly was mentioned with peanut butter was from a 1901 issue of the Boston Cooking School magazine. Author Julia Davis Chandler said that for a variety, she spread a thin layer of cranberry jelly or blackcurrant jelly along with peanut butter. The sandwich went from fancy garden parties to worker lunchboxes in 1920s when Skippy started mass-producing peanut butter by adding sugar and hydrogenated vegetable oil. Marketers from Skippy started targeting children as a potential new audience. And the rest is history. Next up are hamburgers. There's no denying that the hamburger occupies a unique place in the American mind. A soft, toasted bun, crisp, cool lettuce, sweet, ripened tomatoes in the middle of it, and a juicy seasoned beef patty. The idea of mincing meat into patties isn't anything new. It dates back to hundreds of years ago. Records suggest that Romans of the 1st century AD used to mince meat along with nuts, wine, and other ingredients. It can be acceptable to say that the hamburgers were shaped by war. Genghis Khan, in the 12th century, conquered 2/3 of the then-known world. The Mongols were a fast-moving army that rode small, sturdy ponies. They stayed on their saddles for a long period of time, sometimes days, without even dismounting. They had little opportunity to stop and build fire for a meal. The entire village would follow behind the army on great wheeled carts. They called yurts, leading huge herds of sheep, goat, oxen, and horses. As the army needed food that could be carried on their mounts and eaten easily with one hand while they rode, ground meat was the perfect choice. They would use scrapings of lamb or mutton, which were formed into flat patties. When Mongols invaded Moscow, they naturally brought their unique dietary ground meat with them. The Russians adopted it into their own cuisine with the name steak tartare. The ancestor of the modern hamburger arrived at American shores in the 19th century when German immigrants brought with them a dish called Hamburg-styled beef, which in turn had been brought to Hamburg from Russia sometime around the 14th century. It was in America that this raw chopped piece of beef would evolve over time to become the succulent patty sandwiched in a bun that we all call a hamburger. Now, it has been established that the development of the hamburger took place in America around the turn of the last century, but there is a great dispute over what happened after the Germans brought patty to America. That's up for a whole lengthy debate. Next up are club sandwiches. This is an infamous beloved creation of America and usually comes with fries. In fact, the 3 slices of bread construction is the main visual image people associate with the word club sandwich in America. There are many origin stories for this sandwich, each one claiming to be the most accurate one. The oldest recorded recipe for it was published in the Good Housekeeping Everyday Book in 1903. Traditionally, this sandwich includes toasted sandwich breads stacked with sliced cooked chicken or ham, bacon, lettuce, tomatoes, and mayonnaise. Like the grilled cheese, you can vary the recipe with different proteins, sauces, veggies, and cheeses. It's totally up to you. The French dip. Contrary to the name, the French dip did not come from France. This sandwich was invented in Los Angeles. Some people say it was invented at Philippe's, the cheap Chinatown restaurant, especially popular among city workers and Dodger fans. Other people say that the honor of invention goes to Kohl's, the former check-cashing electricity utility train station that now draw a trendy crowd. Both of these spots have their own invention story. This hot American-born sandwich is made with thinly shaved roasted beef piled onto a French roll or baguette bread, topped with cooked onions, melted Swiss or provolone cheese, and a side of jus for dipping. This jus is made from beef's juices that is released in the cooking process. Next up are BLT. This one needs no introduction. Crispy, crunchy, salty bacon, fresh, slightly acidic tomatoes, chilled lettuce, mayonnaise, and toast. There is little, if no excuses for error while making a BLT sandwich. The bacon, lettuce, and tomato sandwich. The bacon must be hot, freshly fried and extremely crispy. The tomatoes must be ripe and sliced thinly. The lettuce must not have a bite and flavor, so iceberg lettuce is totally forbidden. And the bread should be toasted until golden brown. The origins of BLT are hard to pin down, but some people claim that it was developed from bacon sandwiches that were originally prepared for tea time in the English countryside since Victorian times. BLT sandwich first appeared in British cookbooks in the late 1920s, and its popularity boomed in America after World War II due to the factors that lettuce and tomatoes became available in supermarkets, and women, who were usually housewives, began to work outside their homes in much greater numbers than before the war. The next sandwich on our list is the Sloppy Joe. Sloppy Joe is a favorite among kids and adults alike. Combine ground beef, onions, seasoning, tomato sauce in a hamburger bun, and there you have it. There's more than one tale of how the Sloppy Joe came to be. One of them starts in Havana, Cuba. There, a man named Jose Garcia served a sandwich based on a Cuban dish called ropa vieja. Garcia also sold iced seafood in his restaurant, and the floor was often wet from the melted ice. This led some customers to taste Garcia for having a sloppy restaurant. Eventually, the name Sloppy Joe's stuck with his establishment. Years later, the name passed to a restaurant in Key West, Florida. Writer Ernest Hemingway recommended naming this newer location after the original Sloppy Joe's. There's another version of the story though. Iowa diner cook named Joe introduced tomato sauce to the loose meat mix, creating Sloppy Joe's sandwich. No matter what the true origins are, this sandwich is nothing but delicious. It also goes by other names in different parts of the US. Sloppy Janes, Dynamites, Tavern Sandwiches, and Slush Burgers. Monte Cristo. While Monte Cristo sandwich tends to vary from restaurant to restaurant or from deli to deli, the general sandwich consists of 2 slices of white bread containing ham, turkey, or chicken, and slices of Swiss cheese which are dipped in beaten egg and fried in butter. A classic Monte Cristo sandwich should come with a side of jelly, in which you have the option to dip your sandwich for the best Monte Cristo sandwich experience. Most people believe that This sandwich is a variation of a French dish called croque monsieur, a grilled cheese sandwich consisting of Gruyere cheese and lean ham layered between two slices of crustless bread fried in clarified butter and made in a special grilling iron with two metal plates. Croque monsieur was served for the first time in Parisian cafe. There is a good chance that bread surrounding meats, cheeses, vegetables and other treats will always be your go-to meal choice. Americans are fans of placing anything in between pieces of bread for their everyday meal. And it's not really surprising. The US will keep its name as one of the top countries that love sandwiches. More sandwich recipes may arise because of the modern innovations. I can include many more sandwiches in my list, like the Reuben sandwich, grilled cheese, po' boys, and the list would go on and on. But I'd love to save those delicacies for another time. Stay tuned. Thank you so much for sticking around on this episode. This is radio host Devansh signing off. Hope you have a beautiful and a magical day.